Hey everybody, this is Linda with Stamping School. I don't normally work so far ahead with stamp sets coming out in future catalogs, but this one is a bundle that's coming out in January, and I've received so many requests for it that I felt like I should just do a video now, and I have it now, so it's kind of fun to play with new stuff. Just a week or so ago, we had our annual convention online virtually again this year. And this was one of the things that we could get early. So it's called Blessings of Home. It's coming out in January. It's just a pretty flower set with some nice sentiments. Thank you for inspiring me. Have a perfect birthday. We can get through anything together. What a beautiful day for love. And you are a real blessing to everyone around you. It's one of those etchy kind of distinctive stamps. So it's sort of meant to look etchy and soft, which is nice for watercolor or the markers. There's dies with it. So for instance, there's these pretty swags and that big stamp, you can cut it out with dies here, this floral. And there's also a very large image. This one right here. Here's another card that I did with it. This is with Misty Moonlight and some embossing, and I use razzleberry and balmy blue and a little navy in there, but you can see how big that die is. And then there's designer paper that'll come with it. It's an interesting palette of navy and a little bit of that real light peachy blush, almost the papaya, some floral prints, and then this one, the freesia, which I still am tempted to call Orchid Opulence because that's how long I've been a demonstrator, and we had one like this, but it was so bold, and the freesia is just so soft and pretty. So this is one side. This one's pretty too. It has a bee, which kind of coordinates with another bundle that's in the new catalog coming up. But the back side is actually why I love the paper the most. It's all gray and all wood planks of sorts, so it has these really useful patterns for all kinds of wood grains that work really nicely. So I found myself using the back of it more than I used the front this time. And then there's these great little neutral enamel dots in white, vanilla, gray, and black. And then they brought back the denim ribbon. And for those of you that have been around a while, you probably had some of this. This is my old one that I dug out of my retired ribbons, the old denim ribbon, because I wanted to compare it to the new one, and they are very, very similar. This one has just a touch more white in it, and they are like so close in size. They're both, I think, it's supposed to be about 3/8 of an inch. So if you have the old denim ribbon, it would work just the same. It's very soft and very nice. So this is a card we're going to be working on, and initially when you get it, you might think it's watercolor paper, but it's not. We're going to emboss it afterwards. I got a little bit of the shimmer vellum too, which is so pretty. That's the in color shimmer vellum that we have in the annual catalog. And we're just going to stamp it on a little 2 3/4 by 4 piece of basic white and color it with the blends. Now I stamped it in basic gray just because I really like the idea of this gray plank paper back here. And you can kind of see it's not meant to stamp crisp. It's really meant to just be kind of maybe like an ink drawing. So it's not going to be a real crisp and clear, which actually is quite forgiving. And this little stem right here is kind of tiny. So I grabbed my regular Stampin' Right marker with the fine tip and just added a little bit of the soft succulent. So that's the color I'm going for, soft succulent, which matches that pretty shimmer vellum right there. I know you can't get this until January if you're not a demonstrator, but you can adopt this layout, which is so great for flowers, and I'm sure you guys have some flowers. Now we're going to do the scribble method to color these. I'm going to use this dark mango and scribble. You know I love to do the scribbling, and it leaves a little bit of white space in there. And then I'm going to come back in with my light mango and scribble again and leave a little bit of white. It's okay. I'm going to use the freesia alcohol markers. I'm starting with the light, and I'm only using my bullet tip. And again, scribble. And I found it's so much faster to scribble and just get some of the color in there. And I don't make as many mistakes and go outside the lines when I scribble. I don't know what it is, but it just seems easier to me. See, I got a little bit of white in there. And we're gonna let that dry and we're gonna move to the leaves. Light and dark, soft, succulent, using just my bullet tips. And for the light, I'm gonna come down from the tips. So I just find I mess up a lot less if I can go down. If I'm trying to color up, I tend to go outside my lines. But if I'm coming down, I do so much better. Maybe it's just me. And again, don't worry about full coverage. All we really want to do is get that color on there. And then we'll come in with the dark and make it all pretty. Now, when you're coming in with the dark, this is the dark, soft, succulent. Then I'm going to do the flicking and go up with it. And I am certainly no master in alcohol markers, but this is just what I found works for me. But don't judge it when it's wet. If you judge it when it's wet, you know, it just doesn't look the same. Let it dry, and then you can go back over and do what you need to do with it. Now I'm just doing the dark ones here, a little bit dark. So I've got some dark, some light, and just a little dot on each one of these. And that's it. It goes very quickly. For the blues, I'm actually doing 2 different color families. This is dark balmy blue, and then a little bit of the light navy. It's an odd combination, but look how pretty the flowers are. Because if you use just the dark color, then they seem to disappear. And you really have to just put a little bit of color on, walk away, and then come back after they dry, and then add the dark blue, and that makes the yellow pop. All right, now we have to add the dark freesia now that this is dry. And you can still use the bullet tip, or you can use the fat tip here, the brush tip, and do the flicking from right at the bottom of the flower petal and up, just like that. And a little more. See, I have more control when I use the bullet tip, personally. I like that. It's a little more noisy. You can hear the mouse squeaking, but I like how it looks. Okay, it's not all colored in. There's still some white spaces in there. Here is the light Night of Navy, and this is dark, so you want to just dot in right next to the yellow. A couple little dots. It's sort of like, with these little forget-me-not flowers, I think. I'm dotting it just a little bit around the yellow to make them stand out. And that's it. Now, we've got some splattering to do. I didn't want to do it ahead of time because sometimes the splatters can show on the flower. What's great about the dies, too, that match the image is it makes a really great mask if you want to start doing a little bit of splattering on top. So I cut it out of some paper. I got a little tiny bit of very light tack tape, nothing that's going to stick to my image too much, just enough to hold it down. Soft succulent ink. And you know, our old ink pads you had to push from the top. To get the ink inside the lid, you want to push from the bottom. Push up from the bottom. There's more give that way, and then you get that nice little pot of color. A little wet paintbrush or your aqua painter with some water. Not too much. And flick. Just a little bit. Just a little bit of speckle. Now we can leave it there, but look how much better it looks when you emboss it. Can you see that on the, hope you can see the texture on there. It just looks like watercolor paper. It's so cool. It's that embossing folder. I think it's the Taste of Textiles. It's one of those 3D folders. It's just got a great texture to it. So you're just gonna stick your image in there, and if you've done a few of them, you can put 2 of them next to each other and emboss them at the same time. And then you got that nice texture on there. If you want to put some Wink of Stella on here, you can. I'll show you another card that I did with the same size when I'm done with this one. So soft succulent card base and one of these. Was it this one? Let me see. That looks nice. It almost competes with that a little bit, but I'll try it. Or I can go with this one. Let's do this one. And look how pretty that is on that side. See, that's going to be too busy, though. Yeah, too busy. But isn't that pretty? It has a place. We'll use it for something. I just love that they did this in gray. gray is such a good modern color. Now, if you don't have to bump this up, you could just put this right on here flat if you want to keep it nice and flat, but I'm gonna raise it up a little bit. I use those pretty contour dies, the scallop ones with the stitching. Love those. And even, this is 2 3/4 by 4, but if you trim it down just a little bit more, like a 1/16, you'll see that little stitching around here. Can you see that pretty stitching around it? If you just a little bit more. And on the back, I'm going to pop this up. And I told you I'm like obsessed with these dimensional sheets that we sell because they're just so much easier. Instead of putting on like 15 dimensionals, you can just chop a little piece of this off and stick it there. That one might be a little generous. Let me see, let me do this down here. But I'm just gonna stick one in the middle. And stick this right here. I love that the cardstock matches the shimmer vellum, which matches the blends, and that's really one of the reasons that I started with Stampin' Up! 20 years ago, because everything matched. So I love that it all goes together. This is a little sentiment that I did in basic gray, and we can get through anything together. It's just a 3/4 inch with a little banner punch at the end, and then a little bit of freesia cardstock just poking out. Just looks nice. Kind of brings in that color a little bit. And that'll just stick right here. And the final touch is some of these in-color gems. So they all kind of match. Let's do a couple of these soft succulent ones right here. And we'll do another one down here. Yeah, no, I'm gonna stick there. There's good, we're good. Let me show you the inside. I decided I needed some room to write, so I did some more designer paper on the inside, a little bit of the swag. I colored one of the white die cuts from this set, and a little flower in the freesia and a little yellow center. And I just want to be able to have a little place to write in there and keep it so I can send a note to someone. Here's the other two that I did. This one I showed you at the beginning, which is the wood grain back here, the raspberry and the balmy blue. This one is just a little more stepped up, but I stamped on the actual paper instead. So you can stamp right on it. I colored on it, added some gems. I did a plain vellum back here. And then these 3 panels from that paper, I just popped up with that foam dimensional and a little ribbon under here. So that's my cards. Thanks for watching, everybody. See it, learn it, stamp it.